People are worried about the rise of Christian nationalism and other authoritarian ideologies. But I have a solution. We need to encourage more Christianity and more people to go to church. Now you might be thinking to yourself, that's the opposite of what we should do if we want Christian nationalism to decline. But that's not what Professor Daniel Williams says in his recent article published in The Atlantic. He notes as religiosity declines in Republican regions, people are becoming more Republican, and perhaps most surprising, more stridently Christian nationalist. See, what he's pointing out is that when people leave religion, they don't always become less religious. Often that religious zeal, that religious energy, is redirected into politics. And so instead of traditional religions, we get political religions. The political ideology becomes the new god, and the new savior is whatever charismatic politician is currently in the spotlight. As sociologist Philip Gorski said, loose from its religious moorings, religious nationalism floats free of the ethical tether of Christian ethics and drifts even further in the direction of secular messianism and political authoritarianism. Now there's actually some data behind this because a study in 2021 found that in the US, Christian nationalism was found among the least churched individuals. And another study done in Europe found that radical right-wing parties tend to advertise themselves as defending Christian identity and values, but they're unlikely to attract religious Christian voters. So if you want to stop right-wing authoritarianism from rising, the best way to probably do it is to make the world more Christian. In the Atlantic article, Williams notes that when people leave religion, they often become more polarized and more entrenched in their political views. In fact, churches can be depolarizing institutions because being a part of a religious community often forces people to get along with others, including others with different political views. And there is research that shows that Christian religiosity seems to make people more compassionate and tolerant. Sociologist Kenneth Vaughn found that when it comes to immigration, religious service attendance is associated with more generous policy preferences. But at the national and regional level, unaffiliation with any religiosity was associated with more restrictive policies. Another study found that secular nations appear to be more tolerant towards Muslims, but the strongest anti-Muslim attitudes are nonetheless found among the non-religious in these countries. Greater religiosity was also found to be associated with more compassion and self-control, confirming what we read in this Atlantic article. In fact, Professor Williams also says that churches may channel people's efforts into charitable work or form community outreach that have little to do with politics. And yes, another study does support what he says here. This one looked at 53 different countries. It found that when nations are religious, that has a spillover effect, causing more people to volunteer for charity work. But when nations secularize, the non-religious don't donate as much time and money to charity. Meanwhile, religious people still keep up the pace. In fact, the authors go on to say, if secularization is an ongoing process in rich post-industrial societies, we expect declining levels of volunteering due to composition and context effects. And so what are the implications of this research? Well, it seems we've been told a lie from new atheists and secularists. We were told that as Christian religiosity declined and the world secularized, the world would become a better, more enlightened place. But that's not what the sociological research indicates. We're becoming more politically driven, more polarized, more tribal, less compassionate, less tolerant, and less involved in charity work. It appears that Christian religiosity was keeping in check dark inclinations in our psychology, and if we do not turn back to Christianity, who knows what this will lead to. But what do you think? Am I way off base, or do you agree with what I'm concluding? Let me know in the comments below, and check out these longer videos where I cover even more research.